just raise your hands and go ahead and ask for the questions. 1 second, it's being live streamed. Wonderful, cool. So as you see on the, oops, what happened to the spotlight? 1 second. What happened to the screening? Cool. I'll share my screen. Not an issue. Murphy's Law is on. Yeah, go ahead. That's okay. Cool. My name is Pradeep Yuvraj, and I also have whatever.
My system on the cast.
Oops, something is Murphy is playing Tron today, so no issues. Let me use my screen, and I will share it. Sherry, can you confirm whether you can see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Wonderful.
On your screen.
Cool. Yeah, the screen that reads Thai University Naming Convention. Is that visible? Cool.
Yeah.
So as you read on the screen, the topic today is getting an yes from investors, and I have along with me Alec Walker from the Stanford Angels and Entrepreneurs Network, Texas. Thank you so much for joining us, Alec. Alec is from Colorado, but today he's in Atlanta, and he will kind of play a co-pilot role with me because this is primarily an audience from the Western hemisphere of the world. Alec will kind of give us more perspectives from the perspectives of investors from around the world. When I sat trying to design this workshop, I had one thought, which was, can I make it a little more broader than being narrowly focused on just the investor pitch deck part alone? You ready? Cool. Okay, Murphy is gone and my other system is ready. Why don't you put me on Spotlight and the presentation on Spotlight? You put that on Spotlight?
No, this one. That's one.
Done? Cool. Okay. Wonderful. So, Sherry, now tell me, can you see both the screens? Put your view on speaker mode so you can see my presentation and me as well. I like to be in the spotlight. Like they said, it's the pitching workshop, right? I want to be in the spotlight. So I have found a method by which I can put both of them together rather than doing screen sharing. So much for presentation and presentation design. So what got me wondering is, I'm sure a lot of you would have undergone workshops and sessions that relate to pitching and investment pitch deck. But it's kind of a very narrow thing, right? As an entrepreneur, it's not as if you're going to be raising funds and pitching for investments all the time. So why should I give you something that's so narrow? Why can't Alec and I give you something that can be more broad-based so that it can help you not only for your investment pitch deck, but it can also help you become a better CEO. It can help you become a better marketing person. It can help you sell your company and your products and your services in a better way. So what we have tried to do today is bring in some larger components that will not only help you for investment pitch decks, that will also help you in the longer run called life and entrepreneurship. Fair enough? Wonderful. And like Dr. Lopez said, it's very difficult for a speaker to look at square boxes there that just read out names without seeing the faces there and the expressions there. I do not know whether you're bored. I do not know whether you're excited. So it's very, very difficult. So help me out. Put your cameras on. Don't bother about your background. Don't bother if you didn't take a shower. I didn't take one either since morning. So it's okay. It's all perfectly fine not to have taken a shower. I have kind of given the theme of a big brother talk here. Whenever there are girls here on the call, my wife insists that I tell them that they're all my sisters and I am their brother. But for the rest of the people also on the call, this is a big brother talk. Primarily, I'm not going to teach you anything. What I'm going to do is to share some of my life experiences, some of my experiences running this company called Presentim, so that you can understand certain things that probably if you are anxious whom to ask, you can ask that today. So I will play the role of an elder brother. Go ahead and put out all those questions. There's no question which is called stupid. There's no question which is brilliant. Any damn thing that comes to your mind, go ahead. For the next 2.5 hours, we are all one family, and let's see how all of us can become better entrepreneurs. As I always do, I start off my sessions with a 1 minute meditation, so to say, if you can call that. So I will put on some music. I didn't want to put on some music. I will put on some music. Close your eyes. Take deep breaths. Really deep breaths, inhale and exhale. Forget everything that's troubling you in your life. Forget your investors, forget your startup, forget your college, forget your PhD applications, forget your examinations, forget everything. And just stay with me here in the meeting hall. Yeah, go ahead, Arya, please. Close your eyes and just take deep breaths and Just be physically and mentally present here in the Zoom. Go ahead. Forget all that is troubling you. Forget any deadlines. Forget any submissions. Forget the application forms that I University keeps asking you. Just take deep breaths and relax.
அதையங்கொரு காட்டிலோர் புந்திடை வைத்தேன் வெந்து தணிந்தது காடு.
Don't open till the music gets over. Don't open your eyes till the music gets over.
காடு தழல் வீரத்தில் குன்றென்றும் மூப்பென்றும்
Wonderful. Open your eyes. There are a couple of reasons that I play this song before all my sessions. Reason number one, of course, is for all of us to realize how much of a fast life that we lead, that for 1 minute it is so difficult to close your eyes and stay still and forget everything else, right? We are running, and somehow we don't tend to take a pause and stop, which is very important for an entrepreneur at many junctures. The importance of taking a pause and taking a step back and looking. But more importantly, the words that you read there on the slide, they are Tamil words. Tamil is one of the oldest spoken language in the world, in fact. The words say that I took an ember of fire. I took a small ember of fire and I put it deep inside the bark of a tree in a forest. And when I came back in the morning, the entire forest was burned to ashes. This was written by a great poet of my state, Tamil Nadu. And what he really means by this is saying that that is the power of youth. And in the context of entrepreneurs, I like to use the same metaphor, saying that that is the power of an idea. It may look like a spark, it may look like a small ember, but it has the ability and the power to burn down an entire forest. In a positive way, what it really means is to change the world to become a better place. And that's what all of you sitting on this call as entrepreneurs and student entrepreneurs are trying to do, is bring that small spark to become a flame and engulf the entire world and change and make the world a better place. So don't forget that. Remember that inside you is the power to change the world. And I want you to keep remembering that all through today and all through your life as well. There are 4 things that we will be talking about today. Number one, I would like to have you guys do a small exercise that will help you understand why perspective matters and how perspective can help you become a better presenter, a better storyteller, a better entrepreneur. We will then understand the fundamental concepts of storytelling. So each of you can become a storyteller on your own, because today the world does not want people with numbers and statistics. The world wants storytellers. The third part that we will try to do is where Alec will come in. We will talk about 2 concepts. One, which is AIM. I'll let Alec tell you what it means in a brief right now. And the second part is the Baker's Dozen, which is 13 slides that every investment pitch ideally should have, right? It is kind of a framework that can help you from a very narrow perspective for this competition, but from a broader perspective for investment fundraising as well. Alec, why don't you just set a context as to what they can expect in your session, which will come in around 45 minutes from now?
Sure. Yeah, so the concept is rather than craft a single pitch based on your own perspective and what you think would be impressive or interesting, to instead research who you're going to pitch to and craft the pitch as a function of what would be interesting and impressive to them. And there's a way to make that into a nice and memorable methodology so that it saves you time when you're having to do that in the future. And then when it comes to the actual message, how you put together the slides and how you tell the story, can be influenced by your knowledge of who you're pitching to.
Cool. Thank you, Alec. Wonderful. I kind of play God sometime. I put you in spotlight and I remove you from spotlight, right? Very narrow-minded of me, narcissistic. Wonderful. And the final part is something that comes straight from my line of business, which is building presentations. My day job is to build PowerPoints and presentations for people. I will teach each one of you 7 very simple principles. If you follow them, you can become an artistic designer yourself. So I call it the presentation skills for non-designers. I am a non-designer myself. I will try to teach those skills to you so that you can go back today and work on your deck and make your deck look 10 times better than what it was yesterday. So very simple, straightforward tools that you can use. So let me get someone here. Yes, Cherry, why don't you read this out aloud for me and for everyone else to read out here as well. You're on mute, Cherry, I think. Cherry, we can't hear you. Okay, I'll ask my friend Hassan to do it. Yes, Hassan, can you read it out for me?
Yeah.
Just my disclaimer.
Okay. This is not a work of fiction. Names, character, business, events, and incidents are products of the presenter's struggle, stupidities, brilliance, luck. Any resemblance to actual person living or dead or actual events is not purely coincidental.
Thank you so much. And my friend from New York is here as well. Hey, Sarah, good morning. You've just come into the class and I want you to read out the second paragraph that's there. Aryan, why don't you put Sarah on spotlight, please? Hey, Sarah.
Okay, the second paragraph?
Yes.
Okay. You are hereby notified that the stunts and ideas spoken in this presentation were performed by a crazy entrepreneur. Please do try to attempt to duplicate, recreate, or perform the same or similar stunts and tricks, but be aware that personal ego injury or monetary damage may result. Please do it at your own discretion. Also, whatever the presenter says is 100% true and 100% false. He is not responsible for any outcomes.
Wonderful. Thank you. So that was my disclaimer, like they put it in the movie, right? It goes so fast, you don't even know what went on. But the basic idea I want to tell is whatever I'm going to speak today is from my personal experiences. Don't take them verbatim, word for word. Put them into the context of your life. See if it fits in. If it fits in, great, go ahead and use it. If it doesn't fit in, just ignore it and move on. What Alec and I will try to give is our perspective. But at the end of the day, what really matters is what you are going through and how you can use it for your personal life. So just a few lessons from my life or stories from my life so you understand. Utkarsh, you have a question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Utkarsh.
Yes, sir. Actually, in the disclaimer, I just wanted to know that did you purposely make it that way of having the knot above it and the knot below it and the yellow bars and everything all of that sort? Was that of some purpose?
Yeah, it was intentional. Yeah, it was intentional. It was basically to take a dig at all the disclaimers that you get normally in movies and in documents and books that most people don't read and they just click yes, right? So that was the intention. Got it?
Thank you, sir.
Wonderful. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll take a couple of minutes to tell you my life story so you understand where all these different things that I'm going to be telling you in the next hour and a half are coming from. It'll kind of help you better understand the reasoning. I started my career working for 3 of the largest oil companies, and I'm glad that Alec also is here. Alec, I also happen to be an ex-Shell employee. I just read on your LinkedIn that you work with Shell as well. So I work for the oil industry with large companies like ExxonMobil and Shell and Total. And then the entrepreneurial bug bit me, and I became an entrepreneur. You can see the cape behind the photograph. Why the cape? Because each of you here on the call as an entrepreneur, you are like a superhero, right? We all wear capes. We are on a mission to change the world and make it a better place like all the superheroes. Started my first venture, which was into automobile, bike racing and designing. I failed miserably, lost a lot of money that I had saved up from my employment. So now what happened is my life got promoted, because once you have done with one company and you are on the verge of starting another, you become a serial entrepreneur, right? So many of us get enamored by this word serial entrepreneur that we see on people's LinkedIns, but it is nothing but probably this guy has failed once or twice, or he has succeeded once or twice. Either way that you take it. In my case, it was failure as well. My next 2 companies were failures as well. One was into software designing and the other was into financial education. Again, lost a lot of money, but learned what not to do. So now what happened? I became like Deadpool, right? What happens to Deadpool? You shoot as many bullets as possible on him, and he keeps coming back again and again. That's what entrepreneurship does to you, and failure does to you, is that it makes you so powerful that now you become a superhuman being. Failure doesn't matter, and you keep coming up like the phoenix bird. My next 3 ventures were semi-successes, made some money, sold out one company for a large quantum of money to a larger company in India. And by now what happened is I became a survivor. Many of us in the entrepreneurial journey, we are doing this role. We learn the art of entrepreneurship by failures, by going through the trials and tribulations of life, and then we become survivors. We know what not to do to become successful. And if you reach this level, you have kind of achieved the path towards success. And then some of us really go big. We become unicorns, we become multi-billionaires or whatever. But I think this is the primary goal that you need to aspire for. And then I realized that life is very boring, so why don't I help other startups? And that's how I started this company called Presentim. I'm a storyteller by profession. We build presentations for startups from around the world. I'm proud, in fact, of the fact that we have one customer in every single continent of the world, including Antarctica. So we build presentations and PowerPoints for them. And these are the lessons and the experience that I'm going to share with you today. So if you hear something that's being spoken of, I will try to relate it to my personal life, so you understand why the story has been built. So we'll get into the first part of today's session, which is storytelling and the art of storytelling and the science of presentation. The first step or the first part of today's session is something that I call as perspective, and why perspective matters, right? And it's very, very, very important for all of us that we get the right perspective in each and every single aspect of our entrepreneurial journey. And for this, what I want to do is I want each of you to pick up a paper and pen. We will do some small activities so you understand this better. In the meanwhile, I'll quote my very good old friend, Charles Darwin, who said, it is not the strongest of species that survives, nor the one most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. For you and me as entrepreneurs, change is something that is like our bread and butter, and every single hour. Today, I read a LinkedIn post about someone who has to take so many decisions in 1 hour, which in a normal lifespan, he might not even have done in a month. And that's what you and I as entrepreneurs have to strive for, the ability to adapt ourselves to change. When COVID came, so many of us pivoted our businesses. If we are stuck to our old ways, we may not be able to be successful. And perspective and looking at things from a different perspective is something that will help you overcome change. So now, why not all of you get ready for some workout? Can you please draw whatever you see on the screen on your sheet of paper? Do not do the shading, just draw the outlines. I think there are a couple of people who are there in the morning workshop as well. So maybe you can put your legs up in the air and relax for some time. Just draw the outline. No need to draw the shading. Just draw the outline on a sheet of paper and a pen. Yep, cool. Cherry, if you're done, just raise your hand so I know everyone is done. Cool. Okay. Can you please divide the blue part into 2 equal similar looking parts? Can you divide the blue part into 2 equal similar looking parts? Yes, if you're done, just show it to me on your screen. Yes, Human, can you show it? Okay, wonderful. That's wonderful. Is this the answer all of you have got? Cool. Yep, very good. Now please go ahead and divide the green into 2 equal similar looking parts. 3 equal similar looking parts. Divide the green into 3 equal similar looking parts. My friend Sana from Pakistan has already done it in the evening. So, yep, good. The team from Backyard Creators, they have the answer. Is that the answer all of you have got? Wonderful. Now, please go ahead and divide the red into 4 equal similar looking parts. Please divide the red into 4 equal similar looking parts. I repeat, divide the red into 4 equal similar looking parts. Harry, look at it. They're not 4 equal similar looking parts. They look different geometrically.
I am not an artist.
Yeah. So, no, that's okay. You don't have to be an artist. So, if you look at my screen, if you got these 2 as the answers, they're wrong because Let me go here. This one is once. These two are the similar, and these two are similar. These two are similar, and these two are similar. But I want all the four to be equal and similar. All the four to be equal and similar. You don't have to be an artist. Just divide it into pieces, equal and similar shapes. You'll have to. No backyard creators. Those are three squares. Three rectangles and one square. I need all the four to be equal and similar. Come on, people who are ready to change the world. We are on a mission to change the world. Let's change this red part into four equal parts. Let's go do it. Soumya, I think you are on a virtual background, so I'm not able to see your pad. You may need to remove your virtual background for me to see that. Cherry, looks like there's a power cut in Singapore. And Craig, what do you do that you always get a team from Singapore and not from New York? Looks like you have some tie-up in New York, huh?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Anyone? Divide the red into four equal similar looking parts. Okay, let's make the stakes higher. Dr. Lopez has offered a prize of $100 for whoever gets it. It's easy for me always to put the blame on someone else. Divide the red into four equal similar looking parts. Yes, Vinny?
My drawing looks very ugly, but can I say is that if you draw the triangle first, like the blue segment, and then after that you make a longer line from the corner vertex to the top corner that's next to the yellow, and the
okay. That's a difficult way for me to imagine. So why don't you draw it and show it to me?
Okay, it'll be very ugly.
I'm good at reading minds, but not yet so much. You're kind of very far away in New Jersey. If you were in India, I would have read your mind. Yeah. Harry, those are three squares, three rectangles, and one square. I need all the four to be equal and similar. I need four equal, similar looking parts. Vinny, is this one of the answers that you're talking about? You can see on the screen.
No.
No. Okay, go ahead, draw it for me if you can. Anyway, yes, Sarah.
Can you draw 5 parts and 4 of them be equal?
No. If you are short of resources, you can't borrow from someone else. No, not allowed. Entrepreneurs try to do things with lesser resources, not more resources, right? Okay, I'll give the answer because we're short of time.
Here, is it this?
Nope. So look at it, Vinny. Those are the two triangles in the middle are the same, and the two triangles on the outside are bigger, right? So I want all the four. Yeah, I want all the four to do it. Alex says, can we partner with someone else as well? No, not yet, Alex. Wonderful. I'll give you the answer. The answer is here, right there on the screen. Yeah, so that's the answer to divide the red into 4 equal, similar looking parts, right? So 4 L's, so to say. Now, can you please divide the yellow into 7 equal, similar looking parts? 7 equal, similar looking. I do not know how in the US you say 7, in India we say it this way, right? But divide it into 7 equal, similar looking parts. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop. Please put your hands up in the air. Put both your hands up in the air so I can see them. Wonderful. Take a screenshot, Aryan, so we have people's hands up in the air. Cool. If I were to ask this question to my 5-year-old niece or niece who's studying in the 5th grade, she would have said, Uncle, what kind of a silly question it is. It is so easy to divide a square into 7 equal parts. All that you need to do is draw 6 horizontal lines. You agree? You agree, right? Something that a 5th grader could do, all of us entrepreneurs and all of us college students and PhD holders were not able to do. Do you agree or no?
Agree.
You agree? Give me a shake of head if you agree. Now my question is, why? We were not able to do. Yes, Harry, go ahead.
We're too stuck in our ways. We get too used to thinking in a certain way. And then whenever we're posed with a new problem, we try to solve it with all our brain power instead of kind of resetting our brain and trying to think of it from a fresh perspective, a fresh angle. Meanwhile, kids are more creative like that.
Keep that thought in your mind, and when we go towards the workshop today, I will pull in that thought again and help you understand why this exercise was done. Anyone else? Why do you think we were not able to do? And I say we because even I was not able to do the first time. Why were we not able to do something that a 5th grader could do? Anyone? Yes, Human?
Yes, I think the reason for that is because the kids are looking at it with the eye of a child.
and they are okay with, you know, I guess you could say it's okay to be embarrassed and or to fail. So I'll give up
Absolutely.
and run.
Absolutely. I think the Japanese have a term for that, right? The learner's mind or something like that. In Zen, they have something start with the learner's mind kind of a thing, where you're open to newer possibilities and ideas. There are 3 lessons that I would take from this exercise, and then I'll tell you why this is so important for today's workshop and for your entrepreneur's journey as well. Number 1, the debate that's always running in our mind, whether we should be complicated or whether we should be simple. Right? Especially for those startups who are working on technologies, you try to speak so many jargon and so many words that people don't understand, because you think that the more complex you picture yourself, the more the world will appreciate you. But most of the times, it's the simplest solutions that the world is looking for. Each of us as an entrepreneur, what are we trying to do? We are simplifying problems for other people and we are making money out of it. The person who designed this remote for me for my presentation is like 10 feet away. He simplified my life rather than me going every time and changing the slide. So as an entrepreneur, you have to strive for simplifying everything that you do, whether it is your presentation, whether it is your communication, whether it is your product, make it as simple and then go further and make it simpler. Lesson number 2 is the ability to look at things from a 360-degree perspective. Can you hold the sheet that you just drew in front of you? Can you hold it so that you can see the drawing? Yeah, hold it like this. Can I have a look at it? So hold it in such a way that you can see the drawing, and now rotate it 90 degrees anti-clockwise. Just rotate it 90 degrees. Look at the drawing yourself and rotate it 90 degrees. I've done it on the screen for you. Just ignore the yellow part. Can you see the answer to the third problem right there? Can you see the third problem? I'll show it to you again once again. Yeah, can you see this answer right there if you ignore the yellow? Yep. 99% of times, all the solutions to our problems are right there in our hand, but we tend to look at it one single way, like a horse with lids over its eyes, and we tend to not find other solutions that could probably solve it. And like my friend Harry said, we are so caught up in our life experiences that sometimes we are not looking afresh. And maybe that is the reason why a lot of the startups come to me and say, Pradeep, I don't understand why these investors are not understanding what I'm trying to do. I don't understand why the judges don't understand my product. It is so simple. Probably it's because you are looking at it only from your perspective and they are looking at it from their perspective. And of course, for the other problem that we solved, where we divided a line with the square with 6 lines, you could also do it horizontally. But if I had not told you this, the next time someone asked you to divide it, you would still go ahead and do it with horizontal lines. Because sometimes we get stuck up with the single perspective that we go in, and we are not able to come out of this. The moral of the story is, whenever you're meeting investors, whenever you're making pitches, whenever you're meeting customers, try to look at it from their perspective. And the final lesson out of this small silly exercise that I gave you is the bad habit of assuming, right? What is assuming? It's making an ass out of you and me. What did you assume today? You assumed that the third problem was complicated or difficult, so the fourth will also be even more difficult. We go in with so many assumptions. We go in with an assumption thinking that the audience doesn't understand biotechnology, or we go in with an assumption that the audience understands biotechnology, or whatever field you are working on, right? Life is all about not assuming things and looking at the real facts. And I will give you one story from my own life. My first business failed, which was into automobile racing. You know why it failed? It failed because me and my partners, we assumed that there's a ready-made market for the product that we were doing. We were modifying bikes, motorcycles to become like race motorcycles, right? And we saw a couple of our friends who said, hey, I like it. And we thought that everyone in the whole city will buy it. After 9 months of running the company, you know how many motorbikes we sold? 0. Because we assume that there's a market for what I am trying to do. Most of the times I see a lot of startups who come with market numbers and market figures, which they have assumed just because there are so many people. There are 2.5 million people in Atlanta, of which half of them are women. So all those women are now my customer segment. It doesn't happen. Sales in my life has taught me that you meet 100 people, you might end up selling to one person, right? So do not assume, understand the perspectives and find things before you take a decision. These 3 lessons are very, very, very important when you go and meet people and make presentations to them. And that's the reason I wanted to start off by letting you know that your past experiences, although they are good for you, sometimes they're equally bad for you. So you have to take that step back, take a pause, look at things from all the perspectives, and then decide. So that's kind of the broad context I wanted to set in terms of the importance of perspective. If there's anything that you would want to comment or add here, Alec, please go ahead, and then we can move on.
Yeah, I think of this as like a kind of a precursor to the concept of product market fit. You know, like you can start on the one hand being too heavy into the solution and not conscious enough of what the market wants. But it's also possible to go the other way and discover something that the market wants that it's impossible to build a solution for, you know, maybe with current technology or something like that. That second possibility is far less probable. You know, typically it's people are making assumptions about what's wanted because it's cool to build something. And, you know, one of the enticing things about becoming an entrepreneur is owning your own company and doing things your way and, you know, building a solution that you think would be cool to exist in the world. And it's just hard to be humble and let the world tell you what it wants.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Alec. It's so important that all of us recognize that entrepreneurship is not glamorous. It's a tough life. It's an amazing life, but it's a tough life as well. No one becomes an overnight unicorn. It takes years and years of sweat and blood. So now we come into the second part of today's session, which is to talk to you about story and why storytelling matters. Like I said, I wanted this session to be something that can be sustainable for you in the longer term. So what I've done is I've taken the help of 2 books, which are kind of wonderful books to help you reiterate these lessons that you will learn in the next 20 odd minutes. In case you don't understand something, you can go ahead, buy those books. Disclaimer, I don't get commissions for those books. They're pretty old books, but you can use those books to kind of understand these concepts a little better. The first book that I want to share with you and speak to you about is this book called Made to Stick by 2 brothers, Dr. Chip and Dan Heath. I can get an Amazon affiliate link, Harry, but I think as a teacher, I should not do that. So go ahead, buy the book. I don't want those affiliate fees. Wonderful. So anyway, the book primarily is an experiment by these 2 professors to understand what is it that makes certain messages stick to people's mind, and what is it that certain messages do not stick to their mind, even though they are powerful, right? So they did a lot of research with CEOs and great speakers, and they dug up historical reports and historical speeches to find, is there some kind of a formula that all of us can learn and understand so that our messages become sticky. The primary thing that they kind of, as a moral of the story is, when you go into a presentation or when you go into let's say a pitch presentation, you generally tend to go with the thought of saying, what should I tell them, right? What Chip Heath and Dan Heath want you to do is you make the presentation in such a way that the audience comes up with the questions that you want them to ask. When the audience asks the questions that you want them to ask, you are in your home ground and you can do much better. When the audience starts asking questions that you do not want, then you are stuck, right? So you have to bring this mind shift of saying that, what do I want to say, or what do I want the audience to ask? You make your presentation accordingly, and you will be in a much better position. So what Chip Heath and Dan Heath came up with this small mini acronym, so to say, called SUCCES, to give the structure, saying that any message, any communication that fits into this framework will stick to the audience's mind. Why does your message need to stick to the audience's mind? Because after you make your presentation, you want the judge to go back home and remember, hey, I had this boy called Samir from some city, I don't know what city, but what Samir said was wonderful. It's still ringing in my ear like a earworm, right? Now what happens when the message has stuck to the judge or to the investor? There's the possibility of Samir getting a funding, the possibility of Samir getting an opportunity is much higher. And that is the reason, my dear friends, I want you to learn the art of making messages that stick. So I will start off with a small story, and then we will understand how to build sticky messages. So I had this friend who's from my city, Coimbatore in India. He won a lottery and got a lot of money. So he said, it's been my dream to go to Las Vegas and play roulette in the casinos there. So he takes a flight and he goes to a casino. He sits on the roulette table like James Bond does with all his suit and all his ties and everything. And there's this beautiful, hot-looking girl who comes to him and says, "Hey, can I buy you a drink?" Right? So Indian boy sitting in an American casino, dream come true with one hot-looking girl like in the movies coming and offering me a drink, right? My friend Samir is smiling away to glory because, yeah, that's the dream like all of us have, right? So he takes this drink and then she offers him one more drink and she offers him one more drink. And the next thing he knows is he's lying in a bathtub. If the sun is shining bright outside and he's lying in a bathtub and there's this phone next to it. And in America, what do when you have a phone? You dial 911. So he calls 911 and the lady on the other end says, "Sir, can you put your hands behind your left back and tell me what you can feel there?" He says, "I can feel a tube." And she says, "Sir, can you please stay still? We will send the ambulance. You have been part of a kidney heist, which has been happening in Las Vegas recently, where foreigners are being kidnapped and the kidneys are being harvested to be sold." Right? So this is the story of my friend, and never again did any of us want to go to Las Vegas and go and get a drink from a girl that we do not know. Now, I would like to talk to you about something that my friend Albert Einstein said, which is the theory of relativity. Aryan, can you do a screen share or let me do a screen share? Let me do my screen share. No, I'll do my screen share. That's okay. Let's get my friend Charles, google.com, Wikipedia. Okay, theory of. Can you see my screen? Cherry, which screen? The one with the Wikipedia?
No.
Okay. I'll have to change it. Yeah. Now? Cool. So what the theory of relativity?
We are seeing theory of relativity.
Yes, wonderful. Cool. I think one of you has two monitors or speakers, so I'm hearing mine. Okay. So the theory of relativity usually encompasses two interrelated theories by Albert Einstein, special relativity and general relativity, proposed and published in 1905 and 1915 respectively. Special relativity applies to the physical phenomena in the absence of gravity. General relativity explains the law of gravity and its relation to the other forces of nature. It applies to the cosmological and astrophysical realm, including astrophysics. Now, let me stop sharing. And can I request my friend Trenton? Can you repeat something about the theory of relativity for me?
That is the combination of two of Albert Einstein's theories.
Okay, and? Okay, now can you tell me the story of my friend who went to Las Vegas?
He wanted to be James Bond at the roulette tables and got his kidneys stolen.
Wonderful, cool. So now my question is this. I spoke about the story first, and then I spoke about relativity the second. But my friend Trenton was able to remember something that I told earlier rather than something that I told later. The question is why? And that, if you can answer that question, that is the answer to this acronym success, as to why certain things stick to your mind and certain things don't stick to your mind. So the first part of the acronym is messages that stick are simple. The story of my friend was a simple story that each of you could relate to it. When I said my friend, you imagine probably, I would have imagined someone who's brown from India. You would have imagined someone who's probably a white person or someone from your own country. But all of you were able to visualize a person going through that story because the story was simple. But when I spoke to you about relativity, there was no visual form for you in your mind, and you were not able to relate to that abstract concept because it was not simple, but it was more complicated. The second reason why messages stick to us is because they have the unexpected. The easiest way to get the audience to look at you is break a pattern, right? For example, let's do this. Let's understand this today. Many of you expected me and Alec to be sitting on a chair and doing this workshop because everyone on Zoom does that, right? Rarely do people stand up. The very fact that I stood up and took the session got into your mind saying, hey, there's this guy who's a little different. He's trying to do something different because I broke a pattern. When I break patterns, what happens? The audience looks up and remembers or tries to focus much more on what the person is trying to tell you. Number 3, try to make messages concrete. What is concrete? Concrete is nothing but giving tangibility or a visual form to something that is abstract. You see an image of a popcorn here. I'll give you an example from the same book so you understand this better. The American advertising agency wanted to convince people that eating 1 tub of popcorn is very, very harmful to your heart because it has a lot of trans fatty acid. I don't remember the exact number. Let's say 3.5 milligram. Let me ask, let's say my friend Pradyumna here. Pradyumna, can you show me how much is 3.5 milligrams of trans fatty acid? Or I have my friend Jared from New Jersey or New York. Jared, can you tell me how much is 3.5 milligram? Can you show it to me?
Like volumetrically?
No, right now I want you to show me how much 3.5 milligram.
That's a mass. I mean, like on the scale of that.
Right. So it is difficult, right? Because it's an abstract concept. We all know what it means, but we really don't have a tangible form to it. There's no concreteness to it. So what the American advertising agency did is they took 4 bowls of French fries, 2 chicken wings, and 1 deep fried Kentucky Fried Chicken and put it on a table and told people that, hey, the amount of trans fatty acid that you see in your popcorn is equivalent to the same amount of trans fatty acid that you have in all these oily foods. Now what happens? That the audience has a concrete structure saying that 1 popcorn is equal to 4 French fries and 2 chickens and 1 Kentucky Fried Chicken. There's a tangibility that they get out of the 3.5 milligrams. So it becomes more concrete. When your messages are concrete, people remember those messages because they're able to visualize it. Number 4, messages are concrete when they are credible. You believed the story of my friend going to Las Vegas because I told that to you as your facilitator today. So I brought in the concreteness. Many times startups, when they come and speak to investors, they speak about numbers, but they don't have a validation for those numbers. And unless until there's credibility in your presentation, or unless until you are Albert Einstein himself, or unless until you're Bill Gates, the world wants to get credibility from other references. The best way to get credibility is to refer people of repute or organizations of repute or reports that you can kind of share with the audience. The 5th reason why things stick is because of emotional aspects. My friend's story stuck to you because you were connected to him emotionally. Theory of relativity has no emotions. You're not able to connect to theory of relativity, which Mother Teresa kind of put it in a much better way, saying that show me the mass and I cannot do anything. Show me the one and I can change the world. What really she meant is this. Let's say I tell all of you here on the call that there are 200,000 children in Africa who do not get 1 square meal a day. Can you help them? Right? Scenario number 1. Scenario number 2. This poor little boy called Pradeep in the city Coimbatore does not have any meal every day. He eats food once or twice in a week. He's so pale and he's so starved. Can you help him? Tell me, in which scenario would you take out the check and write down, let's say, $10 to help out? Will it be Pradeep or will it be the 200,000 children in Africa? Put it on chat if you want.
200.
Scenario 1 or scenario 2?
Scenario 1.
Scenario.
Okay. Renton says second choice. How many of you say scenario 2? Wonderful. So I think democratically we have scenario 2. Why? Because when I said the name Pradeep, you were able to visualize a person and you were able to connect to this person. But when I said 200,000, you have no emotional connect to 200,000 people and your mind immediately shuts down because it thinks that what can I do for 200,000 people? I cannot do anything. I may probably give $10. But $10 from Pradeep can make a big difference. So let me go ahead and help Pradeep. So that's what Chip Heath and Danny say, that messages that stick are emotional. And finally, what they found is that messages that stick are always told in the form of a story. Martin Luther King started off with the story saying, I have a dream. I have a dream was not just underlined, but it was a story that he wanted to project and paint in front of those millions of people who were listening to him there in the rally, as well as the millions of people who were watching it on TV. So when you tell things through the form of a story, they become more powerful and they become more sticky. So these are the 6 parameters that make any message sticky. So the next time when you're building a presentation, see if you can somehow bring the structure of your presentation? Can you break the pattern? Can you do something unexpected that the judges didn't expect? Like in one of the pitches last year, the team that came in first runner-up, there was this boy called boy from Dallas called Brian, who came to the pitch with guns, arrays of guns behind him. He was standing in a hall like this, and there were arrays of guns behind him because his product was to train the police on handling crowds, and he wanted to show the negative effects of guns. Now, what happened? That there are 7 participants who are sitting in front of a monitor, peering in like this and doing a presentation, and there is this one guy who's just out of the blue standing in front of guns and making a pitch. What did he do? He broke the pattern, and that could probably have been one of the reasons why the judges decided that he's probably the first runner, right? Break the pattern, keep it as simple as possible. You know the technology, you know how blood samples are taken, and you know how blood is tested, but maybe the jury member doesn't because he or she probably comes from the travel industry. So remember these 6 aspects that Chip Heath and Dan Heath said. Make it simple, bring in some unexpected element, make it concrete by giving people some tangible form to look at it, make it credible by referring to people of repute or organizations of repute. You can bring in credibility by showcasing your research documents, by saying that I met 500 people before I decided that I wanted to do this as a product. Bring in some emotional quotient, because although investment is all about money, many decisions, what we call as behavioral finance, are taken from the heart. So try to connect to the emotion of the audience, and they will kind of follow you like the Pied Piper of Hamelin. Finally, try to put all this into the form of a story. So that's the first part of the storytelling that I wanted to talk to you. We will get into the second part, which is again, like I said, a reference from a book called A Whole New Mind by Daniel Pink. What Daniel Pink says is that we have come across different kinds of ages, the industrial age, the knowledge age, and now we are coming to a stage where the world is going into the conceptual age, where it will be the right brainers, the thinkers, the storytellers, the emotional people who will take the world forward. Before I get into that, can I ask Alec if there's any supplementary point that he would like to add to the previous talk that we had? Alec?
There is, but I'm going to wait until my session. Thanks.
Wonderful. Okay, cool. So what Daniel Pink said is that there are 6 attributes that every right brain thinker or every conceptual age person needs to have. So you and I, as CEOs of our companies, if we are left brainers, we are the scientists and we are the ones with the numbers and statistics, we also need to become right brainers and look at the world in a different way. So he says that there are 6 attributes that each of these people have. Attribute number 1 is design comes first. So what is design? Can any of you tell me what is design? Go ahead if you want to unmute yourself.
Visual representation of how a thing is shown.
Okay, visual representation of how a thing is shown. Okay. If you want, you can put it on the chat as well. What is design? There's no right wrong answer. Go ahead and tell me, what do you think is design? When I say design, what comes to your mind?
User experience.
Artistic, user experience. Okay. Process of creating something to appeal to an audience. Wonderful.
A plan for how something is built.
Okay, a plan for something that's built. Visual representation. Wonderful. Cool.
A physical representation of like a story also, like you're trying to convey some type of meaning or some type of vision.
Wonderful, wonderful. So where Daniel Pink brings in this concept of design is that for a long time, all of us were worried about the functionality of things, right? If this thing worked well, I'm okay. Whether it looks good, whether it feels good, whether it satisfies all my senses, I don't care, right? Because that was the industrial age. You had to just make things day in and day out. And then what happened? Asia happened, especially for you in America. Asia happened. All these kind of jobs started getting exported to Asia, and there was no way that you were able to compete because these were functional things that could be easily replicated. But design is something that cannot be outsourced. It's something that comes from inherent feeling. It's something that comes from inherent thinking. Design is nothing but taking functionality and giving it some kind of relevance by making it better, or to put it in much simpler words, by catering to all the different human senses: sight, feel, touch, shape. For example, this remote that I have, the designer, the person who built this could have created this as my remote. He could have given me buttons in this as well, and the functions would still have been the same. But someone said, hey, holding this for a 2-hour lecture is going to be difficult for Pradeep. So can I change the shape of this to be a little more easier on the hands so Pradeep can hold it and change his slides? That is design. What Daniel Pink says is whenever you're building a product or a service, do not think design as the last component, where you're just making it look good by painting it and coloring it. No, that's not design. What he says is design has to be the first step when you start doing something. In service, design is nothing but the experience that your user gets. What do you feel in a 5-star hotel? You feel like a king. And that's by design. It doesn't happen by fault. That's the design of experience, because they want you to feel like a king, because they're going to charge you like a king in a 5-star hotel. Number 2, Daniel Pink talks about story as well. He says that the greatest people or the greatest leaders are ones who have the ability to tell stories. I will not talk much about it because we have already spoken about it. The third aspect he talks about is symphony. I will give this through this example that's there on the screen. Scenario number 1, I show you this full diagram, drawing that you see there. And then I cut it into pieces and I give it to you to solve the puzzle. Scenario number 2, I just give you the cut pieces. I don't show you the full photograph, and I ask you to join the puzzle together. Tell me in which scenario will you be able to do it faster? Scenario A or B? A, right? Why are you able to do it faster in scenario A? Because I showed you the big picture and then I went into the smaller parts. For you and me as presenters, as storytellers, it's very, very important that we always start from a 30,000 feet view. We always tell the audience what is the end outcome, and then that gives them a meaning why they should listen to you. Like today I said, if I were to be only talking about, if I had started saying that, okay, step number 1, I will teach you how to make PowerPoints. Step number 2, I will teach you what are all goes into an investment deck. Some of you might have lost connect with me and you would have said, okay, these are things that I know I really don't want to do. But when I started off by a larger view or a larger vision, saying that what I'm going to talk to you in the next 2 hours with Alec are things that can be used by you not only for investment pitch decks, but for your entire life as an entrepreneur. Some of you got attracted to that because you could see the bigger picture, and then I have been taking you through the smaller picture. The word symphony comes primarily from the orchestra. There are hundreds of different musical instruments, but when you hear it, what do you hear? You hear one single music, piece of music. So what Daniel Pink says is that as an entrepreneur, when you are pitching your ideas, never start with the smaller bits and pieces. Never start with the bites. Start with the bigger picture. Show the audience the biggest benefit that they're going to get out of it. And then what will happen is if they find meaning in that, they will listen to you, even if it's a 10-hour lecture. Trust me, they will not let go of you. So start off with the bigger picture always when speaking to people. Number 4, he talks about empathy as an important skill that you and I as entrepreneurs have to have. And the classical example that I have for empathy is when entrepreneurs come to me and say, hey, this investor is crazy. He doesn't understand what I'm trying to tell him. The reason is you are like in your own world. You know everything about the subject that you are talking about. What we call as the curse of knowledge. But that poor guy probably has not had any experience with what you're talking about. So he is not able to connect to you, and there's a disconnect between them. Empathy is nothing but putting yourself in the shoes of the other person and looking at the world from his or her perspective. And as we were talking about assumptions as well, right? If this guy is from Spain, he will behave this way. If this guy is from India, he will behave this way. If this guy is from Singapore, he will behave this way. We do not look at their perspective. You always come from our perspective. I, me, myself. I have done this. My company has done this. But for him, he says, I don't care. What I really care about is what can you do for me? And that is what is empathy. When you understand what you can do for the other person, then you put yourself in their shoes and you bring in empathy to the whole thing. So Daniel Pink says that if you want to become a great leader, a great entrepreneur, you need to bring in empathy. The 5th element that Daniel Pink talks about is play, or the importance of humor and importance of being relaxed. Most of us take our best decisions when we are in a relaxed mode, when we are in a playful mode. When you are in a playful mode, you tend to perform 10 times better than when you are in a stressed mode. So what Daniel Pink says is, if you want to be a great presenter, a great speaker, try to bring in some element of fun into your presentations. Even if it's an investment pitch deck, it doesn't mean you have to be serious there, like a stiff upper lip, as they say, all suited and booted and being all formal. It's okay to crack jokes. It's okay to make fun of yourself. It's all right to relax, because the moment you make fun of yourself, the investor also is becoming a little fluid. He or she is now in a situation where the ability to absorb things are much better. Like what we did today. The reason why I gave you that first exercise was to give some lessons, but it was also to get you relaxed and say that, hey, this is not like a formal lecture. I don't want you to be here listening at a person sitting 10,000 kilometers or standing 10,000 kilometers away from you in India. It's a session where all of us want to have fun. And finally, what Daniel Pink says is that you have to bring out meaning. Every single individual on this call, you have come to this workshop thinking, what will I get out of this? Did one of you come like Gautam Buddha or Jesus Christ saying that I am above all the world, I don't want anything from Pradeep, I don't want anything from Alec, I just want to come sit here and go off? No, you came in with one question on the top of your mind saying this, what will I get out of listening to Pradeep and Alec? So everyone wants to find meaning in their life. They want to know what any situation in life can do for them. So if you can bring in the aspect or the ability of meaning for people, they will be able to relate to you much better. I'll give you one very good example later on in today's session when we talk about design for you to understand this word meaning better. So we've come to the end of the second part of my session. It's time now to hand over to Alec. But before that, I want to go through 2 slides or 3 slides. And then we'll take a 7-minute break, Alec, and then we will start off with your session so people are energetic and they get a bio break or whatever, right? So question number 1, I want to ask all of you is, what is the purpose of a presentation? Can you tell me? Any presentation, not only an investment pitch deck, any presentation, what is the final outcome?
To convey our message.
To convey our message, okay. Anyone else? For marks, okay.
To share information.
To share information, okay. Put what's in my head into yours, okay.
To simplify complex matter and present it like in a very, very simple manner.
Okay, Sana was in my session in the morning, so Sana has got the right answer, right? I'll give you an example. Or every presentation is an opportunity to, please fill in the blanks. Every presentation is an opportunity to what? And kind of, if there is one message that I want you to take from my session today, I think it is this single message, that every presentation is an opportunity to make a difference. All of you, whatever answers you gave are some of the tactical stuff that you want out of it, right? It's all about I, me, myself, right? Someone said, I want to tell about what I have in my mind into your mind and all that. But ultimately, if you understand that every presentation is an opportunity for you to make a difference in the audience's life, then the way you will handle it is different. It's a very paradigm mind shift that will come into you when you start looking at it from the perspective of not saying that I will tell them what I want to give, or I'll tell them what I know, but I will tell them what they want. I want to make a difference in the life of 30 odd people who are sitting with me in this workshop. Can I do that by by giving them an opportunity, or by making myself someone who can make a difference in their life? So that's the primary concept that I wanted to set, and we will wind up with these 2 slides. Here's a beautiful photograph of the Taj Mahal that I drew on my iPad, and I did some wonderful text and all those things. It's one of my favorite slides. If I were to show you this and invite you to come to India to watch Taj Mahal, how many of you would come? Just based on this one single slide. Just based on this single slide. No, Pradyumna says not at all, right? I would not, right? Anyone else? No one? No one wants to come to India to see the Taj Mahal?
Sorry.
Now do you think you would be tempted to come and watch? To come to the Taj Mahal? Yes, right? So what's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is presentation matters. You may be the 7th wonder of the world, but if I don't present you in the right way, the world will not recognize you. Your idea may be the idea that will become the next Apple, that will become the next Jeff Bezos, that may become the next Tesla. But if you do not present it in the right way, no one will appreciate it and it'll just stay an idea. And that's what's written on my t-shirt as well. Presentation matters, right? So that's the message that I want to give you. And I want to set this floor now for Alec. It's 9:10 on my clock here in India. We will take a 7-minute break. After we come back, Alec will talk to you about AIM, which is the homework that you need to do before any presentation. And then we will talk about investment pitch decks and design. Take a break, go stretch your legs, go to the loo, go have a brunch, have a cup of coffee, tea, whatever. I'll see you back in 7 minutes. And now we will have our DJ put on some music for you. Go ahead, take a break. Time starts now.